Okay, imagine this. The kid at school who's, let's say, famous for things going wrong. Suddenly they end up head girl. What does that even suggest about, success or expectations or maybe just delightful chaos?
It definitely makes you stop and think, doesn't it? We often have such fixed ideas about who gets to be successful or who should lead.
Exactly. And that's really the heart of what we're looking at today with Jill Murphy's brilliant book, First Prize for the Worst Witch. Mildred Hubble at Miss Cackle's Academy.
Oh, yes. Spells going sideways, broomstick mishaps. It's all there.
Right. But amidst all that, Mildred somehow navigates these really tricky situations and honestly surprises everyone, including herself sometimes.
It's a great look at how maybe, just maybe, success isn't always about being perfect. Maybe it's more about resilience and finding strengths you didn't know you had.
Well said. Now, before we really jump into Mildred's world, just a quick mention. If you find this kind of exploration interesting, thinking about characters and themes, you might also like our Mindful Moments series. It's over on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, we use some AI analysis tools there to look at different books. It's all about kind of sparking your own thoughts, encouraging that critical thinking we're aiming for here, too.
Exactly. Okay, so the book. Mildred's back. It's her last term of fourth year, and she's got her eye on that year 5 uniform. The one with the extra braid.
A little detail. It signifies moving on, doesn't it? A fresh start, maybe? Especially for someone like Mildred with her reputation.
Definitely. And she's got her usual companions, Tabby the cat, who's usually asleep on the broom.
Einstein the tortoise, too, right?
Einstein, yes. And, crucially, Star, the stray dog who's turned out to be this amazing acrobat and broomstick partner. Remember they won that big swimming competition?
That was such a turning point. Winning with Star, it sort of showed Mildred succeeding through connection, through embracing something totally unconventional. It definitely shifted perceptions a bit.
It really did. And get this, Mildred actually starts, sort of quietly, hoping she can become head girl for the next year.
Oh, wow. And Maud's reaction, her best friend.
Hilarious, completely incredulous, which, says a lot about how ingrained that worst witch idea is, even with her friends.
It really highlights that narrative, doesn't it? The label sticks, so the idea of Mildred in charge seems, well, almost absurd in that context.
And then you got the contrast with Ethel Hallow, always confident, always, let's say, slightly put out by any progress Mildred makes.
Especially the flying, right? Ethel seems to conveniently forget Star's massive contribution to Mildred's improved skills.
Totally. Ethel represents that more traditional, maybe rigid idea of achievement. Proper spells, neat flying. Mildred's slightly chaotic success clearly irks her.
It shows that discomfort with things not fitting the mold, I think. So the term starts, and there's buzz about this new swimming pool.
Yes. The ecological swimming pool, which sounds grand, but turns out to be, well, basically a pond.
Full of pond life. Tadpoles, weeds, the lot. It's quite funny, really. A classic Cackle's Academy development.
It really is. And guess what happened?
Don't tell me Mildred thrives in the pond.
Mildred and Star win the national swimming pool competition held there, which is amazing. Raises her standing even more and means she definitely gets to keep Star at school.
Wow, another big win. That really cements the idea that Mildred can succeed, just maybe not in the way everyone expects. It chips away further at that worst witch thing.
Right. But then, trouble appears. Drusilla Paddock finds this old, faded circus poster.
Okay.
It's for Brilliantine's Amazing Traveling Circus, and it shows a dog doing tricks on a pony. And the dog looks exactly like Star, but it's called Binky on the poster.
Oh, no. So Star might belong to the circus. That puts Mildred in a terrible position.
Exactly. And Miss Cackle and Miss Hardbroom, being responsible headmistresses, feel they have to track down the circus.
Which is the right thing to do from their perspective, but absolutely devastating for Mildred. That potential loss of Star is huge.
She's heartbroken, obviously. But her friends, Maud and Enid, they really rally around her. It's a lovely show of friendship.
That's so important, isn't it? Having that support system when things get tough. You see their loyalty shine through.
Around the same time, there's a new spell being taught. Year 4 learns this privilege spell.
What does that do?
It lets them enchant any kind of brush to fly.
Oh, interesting. A bit of convenient magic enters the picture.
It's very convenient. Mildred, Maud, and Enid immediately start, experimenting, seeing what they can make fly.
Resourceful as ever.
And then, talk about timing, they happen to overhear the circus owners. Mr. and Mrs. Brilliantine.
What are they saying?
They're grumbling about the animals and saying they'd happily trade them all for a really spectacular new act, something dazzling.
Ah, the wheels start turning, I bet. Especially Enid's.
Exactly. Enid comes up with this wild but kind of brilliant plan. They'll use the privilege spell. They'll offer the Brilliantines enchanted flying brushes as a replacement act.
Flying brushes? Like what?
Well, a dustpan and brush set, a big yard broom, and wait for it, 25 flying toothbrushes.
25 toothbrushes. That is wonderfully absurd. So typical of Enid's imagination. I love it.
It's perfect, isn't it? So the three of them sneak out really early one morning, go to the circus camp with their enchanted cleaning supplies.
And the Brilliantines, what do they think?
They are completely blown away. Flying toothbrushes, they think it's amazing, a totally unique act, so they agree to the swap.
No way.
Yes. They even give Mildred a proper letter, like a bill of sale, confirming she now owns Star and the pony, Merlin, who is also part of the act.
Wow. That's huge. Problem solved. Mostly.
But there's always a little Mildred chaos, isn't there? There's this sad seal at the circus, Selkie. Mildred feels sorry for her and tries a transference spell to send her back to the sea, Grim Cove specifically.
Okay, nice idea, but knowing Mildred.
Yep, she messes it up slightly. Selkie doesn't end up in the sea. She ends up in the school swimming pool, the ecological one.
Oh, brilliant. So the pond life gets a new resident. What happens?
Chaos. Miss Bat goes for a morning swim and finds a seal doing tricks in the pool. You could just picture her face.
Huh. Classic. Adds that touch of humor even when they've pulled off this amazing plan.
So back at the school gates, Mildred arrives with Star and the pony, Merlin. And who should discover them but Miss Hardbroom and Miss Cackle?
The reckoning.
Looks like it.
Mm-hmm.
But then, another bit of luck, Dulcie, she's a first year, runs up and recognizes Merlin. Says he used to be her pony before her family had to sell him.
Oh, that's lovely. A perfect home for Merlin right there at the school.
Exactly. And Miss Cackle reads the letter of ownership from the Brilliantines for Star, and quite remarkably, she accepts the whole situation. Mildred gets to keep Star, Merlin becomes a school pony, and Dulcie gets to look after him.
A surprisingly neat resolution. For Mildred, anyway. But Ethel's still around.
You know it. Ethel and Drusilla see Dulcie fussing over Merlin. Drusilla, being quite observant, puts two and two together when they later hear about the Brilliantines' amazing new circus act, featuring flying brushes.
Ah, so she figures out what Mildred and her friends did.
She does. And Ethel, true to form, marches straight off to report this trivial use of magic. That's her phrase to Miss Cackle and Miss Hardbroom.
Of course she does. Can't resist enforcing the rules, especially when it's Mildred involved. How does Miss Cackle react this time?
This is interesting. Miss Cackle doesn't just jump to punishment. She actually seems thoughtful. She considers why Mildred did it, the positive outcome, Mildred's, her knack for sorting things out, even if it's in a very roundabout way.
That shows real growth in Miss Cackle's perspective, doesn't it? Seeing beyond the broken rules to the intention and the result.
I think so. Then we get to the end of term ceremony, the fourth year firsts. Maud gets first prize for team spirit.
Which is lovely, very fitting for Maud, always being such a supportive friend. It acknowledges that quiet contribution.
Totally deserved. And then, the big announcement. Miss Cackle reveals the head girl for next year, and it's C, Mildred Hubble.
Oh, wow. Really? Even after everything?
Really. Mildred is absolutely stunned. Ethel looks like she might faint.
I can imagine. What a moment.
Mildred, when she recovers, chooses Enid as her deputy, which is perfect.
That makes sense. The two unconventional problem solvers, now in charge. It's a fantastic message. Leadership doesn't always look like Ethel Hallow.
Even Miss Hardbroom gives this tiny, almost imperceptible nod. And then she makes some offhand comment about a crossword puzzle clue the girls helped her with earlier. It's like the closest she gets to saying, well done.
That tiny crumb from Miss Hardbroom is practically a standing ovation. It suggests even she sees the strange effectiveness of their methods.
And Mildred finally gets it. Her first prize wasn't a certificate or a badge. It was this: becoming head girl. The worst witch gets the top job.
It's such a brilliant conclusion. It shows that success isn't about being flawless. It's about, like you said, perseverance, definitely kindness, and using whatever weird and wonderful talents you happen to possess.
Yeah, Mildred's whole journey in this book, it just beautifully demonstrates how sticking at it, being a good friend, thinking creatively, even if you're seen as the worst, can lead you somewhere amazing.
Absolutely. And the power of friendship, finding those slightly bonkers solutions together, that's huge too. It really challenges our ideas about what success looks like.
It really does. If you enjoyed digging into Mildred's story like this, thinking about those themes, remember to check out more Mindful Moments on our YouTube channel. There's more AI-driven analysis of different books over there.
And you can find other discussions, maybe exploring different kinds of stories on our podcasts as well. More food for thought.
Definitely. So please do subscribe if you want to keep up with our latest chats. Share this with someone you think would enjoy a story about, well, heart and a touch of magic.
Yeah.
And resilience.
And there's a purchase link in the show notes if you want to grab a copy of First Prize for the Worst Witch and read it yourself, or maybe reread it.
Yes. Most importantly, though, maybe let Mildred's journey get you thinking about the expectations we put on ourselves and others, and all those unexpected winding paths that might just lead to your own version of a first prize.